Hi there, it is Jo from Minerva, and today I'm here to continue our Fabric Masterclass. We're getting further into the alphabet now. We are on D, and today D is for denim. We're going to be taking a look at different types of denim fabric, some Minerva maker inspiration to get your ideas flowing, and we're also going to take a look at some top sewing techniques that you would use if you choose denim. This series is linked to our fabric guide. It's a comprehensive guide to different base cloths and how they're made. It's not a project book, it's a knowledge book, and it's really helpful if you buy your fabric online. There's a section about how fabrics are made. There's a fantastic section sharing how different fibres make up different fabrics content, so you can check out the characteristics that those fibres bring to a fabric. It's really important for choosing the right pattern for the right fabric. The book comes with 70 little swatches of 70 of the most popular base cloths from Minerva. They do sell more, but they've teased out the ones that are the most popular for garment making, and you can stick that little swatch in your book so that you can feel the fabric and also compare it to other fabrics. On the denim page, you'll find the difficulty rating is 2. I really like denim for beginners. It's really stable, it doesn't shift out of shape, it's easy to cut and sew. There's some information about fibre content, which we're going to look at next. We're going to look at some different types of denim. It's all of the characteristics, some of the fabric details, some ideas of what to make with it. I'm going to show you some maker inspiration. It mostly comes in plain colours, but you can get printed denims. We're going to look at some of the sewing tips, and I'm going to enhance that section today. And of course you've got your little swatch, so you can have a feel of that, and that's particularly useful for denim because this one says 290 GSM. So if you've got something to feel, you can then compare grams per square metre, which are smaller, and you can also compare grams per square metre, which are heavier in weight. That way you'll pick just the right denim for just the right project. We'll take another look at this later on in the video, but let's crack on with looking at lots of different types of denim. Denim comes in different weights, so you'll see it described as light, medium, heavy, rigid, stretch. It might also include in the title the fibre content, so like a poly cotton denim, and you'll need to read the product description because all of those denims will act slightly more different than another one. Of course, the best way to look at how a fabric has been used and whether it's right for you is to check out the Minerva makers below on our website. You'll also need to be maybe checking the grams per square metre, and if you look at denim fabrics you'll see that number and you'll be able to compare one against the other. The little swatch in the book is 290 GSM, so you could feel that one and you could think, okay, I want something lighter than that, I want something heavier than that, I want something stretchy, I want something that's a different colour. So all of those different types of denim are featured in our core range. Let's have a little bit of a closer look at how those fabrics have been sewn up. So if we start off light denim, 130 GSM is really good for shirts, summer co-ord sets. A lighter style of jean, so if you're looking at your jeans patterns but wanting something for summer, it's perfect for that. A lighter weight is absolutely perfect for shirt dresses, so you can either make them really summery and short sleeved, or you can use them as a winter dress even in that lighter fabric, because it means you can make belts and pockets and cuffs easily. Poly cotton is also a lighter denim version. It's more of a budget friendly denim, and it's because it's got the polyester content, it dries very quickly. It's really good for bib skirts, dungarees, jeans. If you're making your first pair of jeans, it's a good way to try out all of your techniques. Sometimes it has a stretch, sometimes it doesn't, but it also makes really good jackets as well, because if it gets wet it will dry quickly. If you're looking for a medium weight cotton denim, so no poly cotton and no stretch, then check out the 190 GSM denim. This is good for layering because it's a medium weight denim. You can use it for quilting or layering up different layers in, say, quilted or padded jackets. It's good for high-end blazers, so you don't have to just have that casual denim jacket style. I like the way here it's really been elevated. Good for jumpsuits and also for making dresses that you can use for layering. So you might be wearing another layer underneath a dress that's got quite a swing fit. If you want to branch out into a different colour, we have a Minerva core range coloured denim. This comes in various different colours. It's 280 GSM, and this is ideal again for jackets, jeans, smart trousers. You can really change up that jean style pattern by choosing a different coloured denim. White jeans here look fabulous. You can also try flight suits, boiler suits and jumpsuits. Talking of a denim variation, in our core range we also have striped denim. You can see it used really well here in some menswear for both trousers, summer casual trousers, and also for shorts. It can also be used for women's wear, of course. So here I just love how creatively the stripes have been used to make this easy fit sundress. So the stripes have been turned around and the grain of the fabric has been played around with to create a really nice effect. It's also great again for those light summer weight jackets. This one has a really nice little frill detail around the bottom. Do keep an eye out for stretch denim. So some of our fabrics have a stretch component to them. So look at the elastane content that's in the product description. It does make it very comfortable for shorts, skirts, and of course if you've got that element of stretch, then you can start to make fitted dresses and get real comfort for sitting ease. Rigid denim is exactly what it says. It's a denim with no stretch. The twist fibres in it are twisted really tightly, so you get a very rigid denim. It's good for, particularly good for jeans. Rigid denim is also very good for homeware. So if you're looking to make cushion covers, seat covers, outdoor covers, a puff or a beanbag or something like that, it's really hard wearing. It's a good idea to pre-wash your denim when you get it, especially if it's 100% cotton, because you'll get some shrinkage there. If you put all that effort into making something like jeans or a jacket and then you wash it once and it's too small, it's really disappointing. So it's a good idea to pre-wash it. You will get some fraying. You'll get this white thread because the weft threads are white and the warp threads are dark. So you'll get a right side and a wrong side. You can actually use the wrong side if you like that texture. You can also use it to mix and match. So you could do some sort of colour blocking where you use the darker and the lighter areas because the texture is the same on both sides. It's a woven fabric. It's got lots of stability unless your fabric has an elastane content, and you can get a stretch fabric. I also wash the fabric because sometimes you get quite blue fingers as you're sewing. You get a sort of grey hands and it sort of gets a little bit grey around your fingernails if you don't take some of that surface dye out of the fabric, and also it can sort of stain upholstery and chair seat covers and things like that. So make sure you give your denim a pre-wash before you cut it out. I'm wearing the Linden sweatshirt today. I make this sweatshirt quite often. It's got a raglan sleeve and it's made in the Minerva French Terry. This one is called Boudoir Bouquet. It's really nice and dark and inky, and it's actually the perfect colour palette for mixing with denim. Today I'm going to be making a skirt to wear with this top. So I'm going to make a denim skirt. My denim skirt from last year is a little bit too tight for me and it's in that jean style, and I want something smoother that I can wear casually or that I can wear with tops and blouses. So I'm going to use this skirt pattern. It's New Look 6106. It's got a long version, so you could make a denim version for winter and wear it with boots, or you can make the mini version I'm wearing today because I like to wear thick tights and I'm really short too. So let's take a look at some of the techniques when you're sewing with denim. I'll show you how to set up your machine and a few little details. Cutting out is easy. I'm not going to show you that. You can fold it in half. You can see the right side and the wrong side. You can cut with scissors. You can cut with a rotary cutter. You can pin. You can add pattern weights. It's easy to cut denim on the floor or a table so it doesn't shift around. So it's a pretty beginner friendly fabric for cutting. All of my skirt pieces are cut out. I'm making view A, which is the short mini skirt. It's got a gentle A-line shape and pocket features. It's got a yoke as well, which makes it really comfortable to wear. To reduce bulk around the waistline, I have cut my facings in a cotton lawn. So I've got one set of yoke waistband in the denim. And because I know it's going to create bulk at the sides, I've I'm making my interfacing in some offcuts of Stores Cotton Lawn. It's a really nice way of making a lovely hand finished inside to your garment, but also using up your scrap bits of fabric as well as reducing bulk. Okay, let's set up the machine and get ready to sew. I'm using a poly cotton thread because it's strong. The polyester gives it extra strength. But if you think you might want to be dyeing your fabric or dyeing your garment when you finished it, you might want to use a cotton thread, because if you've got 100% cotton fabric and then you sew it with a cotton thread, if you dyed it, then all of the stitching would absorb the dye as well. Today I'm using a polyester mix thread. I'll list it in the products below. When sewing denim for your main seams, you'll want to have a jeans needle. This is a size 90 and I've got 100 in here as well. So depending on how thick my denim is, if I've got a rigid jean, then I might go to a 100 needle. It's stronger, it's thicker, it's much more helpful on this thicker fabric, and especially when you start going through bulkier layers. I'm sewing on a straight stitch length, and I'm going to keep my stitch length nice and tight at 2.5 because we want denim to be durable and hard wearing, so we need a small stitch length. You want to check that when you peel your fabric apart, especially if it's going to be under pressure, say in a fitted skirt or jeans, that you don't get any of the stitch lines showing. I'm using a pale blue today, but I still can't see it. If I could see it there, I might want to tighten my tension. I've got that stitch length 2.5, which is doing a great job there. You can press your seams open and I'll show you some finishing. A zigzag stitch will stop your fabric fraying once it gets to that zigzag line. So think about how far away you want your zigzag from your raw edge. If you've got a nice wide seam allowance like this one, which is 1.5, you can make sure that you bring it in a little bit so it doesn't chew the edge. You can also use an overcast stitch if you have one on your machine. This is a little bit stronger than the zigzag because you've got a line of stay stitching and the little spikes that go out towards the raw edge. So you've got double the protection of fraying, because it will fray back to those spikes and stop, and your line here will keep this seam and spare seam allowance really stable. Of course, if you have an overlocker or serger, you can use that to finish your raw edges, or indeed sew your whole garment on the overlocker, but do make sure that you use the guide on your overlocker to make sure that you're keeping the correct seam allowance. If you're making jeans, or you want to make an authentic jeans style skirt or adapt a pattern to have that kind of style, then you might want to try some flat fell seaming. This makes a really strong seam with 2 lines of stitching. You sew the fabric wrong sides together. Layer out one side of your seam. I've done this quite big just so that you can see the technique. And then you fold this over or press in place. Once it's pressed in place, you can then top stitch on that folded edge, and all of your raw edges are enclosed within the seam. It's a bit like having a French seam but on the outside. If you'd like more information on this, or you want to see it slowed down a little so you can perfect it, you can check out my flat felling video. There's a faux way to do it, there's this authentic way to do it, but it really does switch up the style of your garment when you put these seams on the outside. It makes the seam very strong because there's 2 layers. You can blend in your stitch line like I've done there, so you might not be able to see that very clearly, or you can do that with your top stitching colour. There's a little bit of green there, look, in the selvage, so you can see that if I'd done that in green, it would have really picked out that feature. One of the things you will constantly be trying to do with denim is to try and reduce bulk. It's particularly poignant if you're making jeans and you're starting to build up layers on a waistband, and then you need to add belt loops, or you've got layers and layers of a fly to put together. It's really useful if you've got a few techniques for keeping those seams to a minimum. If you start to build up layers, or you know that your pattern construction will start to build up layers, then you can layer out some of your seam, especially if this is going to be enclosed. So if this was a strap, I've reduced the amount of bulk inside that strap, but then I might start creating more when I build up each layer. So here now I've got a lot of fabric bulking up. When you're sewing, you need to keep this foot parallel to the foot plate. So if it starts to tilt up at the front and down at the back, or the opposite way, then you'll start to get skip stitches because there's not enough pressure from the foot pushing the fabric down onto the feed dogs. If this starts to tip up, then the front of the fabric isn't touching the feed dogs and being dragged along so well. So you might need to use a bulky seam aid. This is a little piece of plastic. You might have one in your kit or came with your sewing machine, but you can buy one if you haven't got one. And on here I've got two different thicknesses, so I can raise either the back or the front of my foot with this, or this thickness. I've not got so much there, so I think I'm probably going to go for the thin end. And when I get to this chunkier bit here, the front foot is tipping up, so my foot isn't parallel anymore. So I'm going to tip the back up so that it is now level. You can only go a stitch at a time. And when you've got past the bulky bit and you're back to flat, you can carry on sewing. And it keeps those areas where you've got lots of layers really strong, so it stops any skip stitches and making it a weak point. It's especially useful for places where you're putting on straps, so like on dungarees for example, or where you've got lots of pocket layers. This still feels bulky, so now I can layer out some of this seam to reduce bulk. Lots of bag makers use it for when they're applying straps to D-rings or layers of fabric on the pockets of handbags. If your seams are particularly bulky, so for example on the crotch of jeans, you've got all of the intersections coming together, or in this case here where I've got a strap and I might want to put through a button or a buttonhole, you can, on the reverse or through a press cloth, tap the seams with a hammer. It splays the weave open a little bit and makes it a little bit softer. Some people don't like doing it. I've done it on belt loops. When I've made my little belt loops, I give them all a little bash on the end and it makes them a little bit softer for when I'm trying to attach lots of layers to a waistband. It really loosens up the weave of the fabric, but I wouldn't recommend doing it on the right side. If you're switching out some of the insides of your garment to reduce bulk, then you also need to follow that up with just being a little bit careful and mindful that you've got a different coloured fabric. So make sure that you clip your curves so that this fabric will definitely roll to the inside and not be showing on your pocket edge. Because denim is a strong woven fabric, it's not as pliable as some other fabrics. So you need to make sure that you give it a helping hand if you need it to go around a curve. The other thing you can do to help disguise any of your underlinings or insides is to flip all of your seam allowances away from the garment and understitch, and that will help that this colour will go on the inside. You can use a pretty hot iron on denim, especially if it's 100% cotton. If it's got an elastane content, you might just want to turn it down a little bit. It will take steam. You can use a press cloth. If you've got particularly thick seams, you can use a clapper, but really for a beginner you can just hot press both sides of the fabric. Really go for a good steam here to ensure that you've got a little denim edge, so from the right side none of that fabric is showing. You can press denim from the right side or the wrong side. It's really hard wearing fabric. You can have your iron on a cotton setting. For cotton ones you might want to turn it down if you've got any fabrics with a poly cotton or an elastane content. Not only does this method reduce bulk along your side seam, where you don't want lots of bulk on your hips, it also reduces bulk along that waistline top, because you haven't got 3 layers of denim, you've just got 2 and your nice little pocket lining. It will make putting on the yoke and waistband much easier, and because I've repeated that as well for the waistband, I'll have a really smooth waistband rather than anything bulky. So if you're working with denim, if you're maybe lining a jacket, you want to really consider how you can make lighter areas and thicker, heavier areas. Honing your top stitching skills and adding decoration is something that denim is really great for. It's stable, it's firm, and it will take some extra threads, and so you can use lots of different techniques for decorating your denim. Denim lends itself to lots of different top stitching styles, so you can use a top stitching thread. I really recommend a top stitching needle for your machine. It's got a bigger eye, so the thicker thread can go through without shedding it and unplying the different strands of fibre. If you try and force this through a universal needle, it'll just keep shedding and knotting, and it's really frustrating. So a top stitching needle, I would say, is a must if you're going to be top stitching. Can of course just be top stitching straight lines or using a twin needle, or you could take a look, if you've got the option on your machine, at some of the embroidery stitches. So this is with a top stitching thread. This one's a top stitching thread. It was just getting a little tight there. I was just messing around with the tensions. And top stitching doesn't have to be orange, just because that's what's on jeans. You can have it in any colour that you like. My black jeans are top stitched in green. I've been wearing these for quite a while now. And also you can hand stitch with top stitching thread. So this is a Shishiko pocket, and I didn't use embroidery thread or anything special. I just had extra top stitching thread and added my patterned features to my pocket. Denim really lends itself to any sort of hand stitching, applique and personalised decoration. If your sewing machine really doesn't like to play the game with a top stitching thread, and some sewing machines are slightly more temperamental than others, you can run 2 lines of normal polyester thread and carry the same path all the way through the machine. Still keep the top stitching needle in the bottom and pull 2 threads through the top stitching needle and have the same thread in the bobbin. So now I've got all Gutterman polyester thread, so everything works really harmoniously together. It gives you a thicker stitch than just a single line of stitching, but if your machine is moving the fabric around and the top stitching thread isn't enjoying that process, then you can do it like that, and that's what I'm going to do today. You can try a few different stitches. You can choose to put your details wherever you want. I'm going to repeat mine on the hem when I come to hem my fabric. And on the back of my skirt I've put an exposed metal zip because that just styles up my denim skirt. If you're putting a zip in, just make sure that you get to the tops level and you match up any waistbands. If you're putting in any other hardware because you're making something more styled than this, if you're putting in rivets or you're putting in metal buttons, we've got some videos of those over on our YouTube channel. If you search hardware, jeans hardware, all of those little videos will pop up for you. There are lots of different ways that you can hem denim, so let's take a look at some options. You can choose lots of different hemming methods with denim because it's a fabric that's good for beginners. You can do simple ones where you just zigzag the edge and turn it up once. You can turn it twice and give it a really good press. Even though it's a thick fabric, you'll still get a nice seam line even if you fold it twice. I folded mine once. I'm going to continue this machine embroidery stitch around there, but you can top stitch it. You can hand stitch it because it's easy just to pick up some of the threads off the back of the denim and you won't get it to show. You just want to be careful if you're hand stitching it that you don't catch the thread so that you pull some of the white loom threads onto the right side. That also happens if you unpick. If you unpick, you need to be careful that you don't pull any of the white threads through to the dark side. You can clip out your seams. Got a little bit of temporary glue there because I'm just stuck my seam down, especially if you're doing the machine embroidery, because if you get a thicker area and your feed dogs slow down to go over this hump, then your embroidery stitch will become more condensed. So I'm clipping out the seams. It just reduces bulk. Just put a little mark where your seam line is going to come to, and then trim anything out below that. It makes it much slimmer. So now this is pretty much the same thickness all the way along the hem. You can check out some other hemming videos here. So you might want to choose your favourite one. You might want to choose one that gives a particular finish. Binding the edge is quite nice, especially if you're making a skirt or jeans and you haven't got much hem allowance left because of your sizing. You might just want to bind the edge so that you only take a very small seam allowance. Here's my skirt finished. So I went for that embroidery detail today, just something a little bit different, but you could really hone your top stitching skills. You could add top stitching around the pockets. I really like this style skirt. I've made this skirt lots of times. I've gone for an exposed zip today just to go with the denim. But you don't, when you make a denim skirt, it doesn't necessarily have to be a jean style skirt. You can make much softer versions. And if you like this pattern, there is a video showing all the different fabrics that you can make it with, because you can get a lot of different looks with this one skirt. Let's see what it looks like on. This is the skirt. I've made the mini version. I could be wearing it with thick tights, or I could be wearing it with pumps for the summer. It's got a really lovely smooth waistband on it. It's almost a yoke actually, and I've added some of that top stitching detail. It's got a gentle little A-line shape which really helps for sitting down, especially for me because I'm sewing a lot, and I've reduced the bulk a lot by using a cotton lawn for the pocket lining and the waistband lining. A really great introduction to sewing with denim. It's a good idea after you've pre-washed your denims to add a little label so that you know what the content of it is, because it looks so similar. It's very hard to go back and find that on the website and check out whether it's a stretch one or not, because they all look so similar. So make sure you label up your fabric so that when you're ready to cut out, you know whether A, you've pre-washed it, and B, what the fibre content is, so you can pick the right pattern. If you like some of the items in the maker gallery that I showed at the beginning, do look out for a video from Vicky where she'll be doing some pattern pairing with denim, and she'll be choosing some specific patterns that you can go and explore and pair with any denim fabrics that you already have or a fabric that you'd like to go and check out. This is the Minerva fabric guide. You can go and check this out on our YouTube channel where you'll see both Vicky and me take a little walkthrough of the guide for you. There's lots of extra information there, but a quick look for you now. The folder starts with some information about how fabrics are made, how the fibres are put together, how knit fabrics and woven fabrics compare and how they're different. You'll find information about pieces of fabric, the selvage, where the bias is, how to treat your fabric with washing, and lots of top tips here for considering buying fabric, especially when you're buying fabric online. The next chapter in the book is all about fabric fibres, so if you understand some of the background information about the fibres that make up the content of your fabric, you will find out if your fabric will drape, if it's structured, if it's breathable, if it's fine, if it's synthetic, natural, how it's made. And if you know all of this background information, then you'll be able to head to the alphabetical order section, the final chapter of the book, and start choosing and comparing fabric, not based on the print or the colour it is, but actually what that fabric is going to do for you. And you can also use the QR code. If you scan the QR code, it will filter all Bengaline fabrics to your search, so you don't have to look through thousands and thousands of fabrics that you don't want to explore. You can actually really compare the one that you're interested in, and then you can find out which is the most suitable for the pattern that you have chosen. There are 70 of our most popular base cloths in the folder. There are others, but we've looked at the ones that we think people will most likely use in garment sewing. You can check out any of the makers that are used in the fabric inspiration photographs, and that's a great way of following really inspirational sewers. So that's the Minerva fabric guide. I really recommend New Look 6106. It's a great pattern for beginners. It's really easy to do, and you can just use lots and lots of different fabrics with this pattern. Thank you very much for watching. Do call again soon. We will be looking at some more fabrics from the 70 popular fabric types from Minerva. We're looking at how to sew them, how to do different techniques and what tools might be used. Anything that I've used will be tagged in the description below, so you can go and check that out further on our website. We would love you to be part of that website, so do make a free account, share your makes there. You can upload a photo, a little description, you can say what went well, you can also describe things that you found a little bit tricky. You might get some advice there, and you'll also get a lot of support and love from Minerva makers. Do call again soon for the rest of this Fabric Masterclass series. See you later.